Hi, I'm Joe, and this is the Decahedron RPG Podcast.
Hey everyone, this is Joe, and this is episode 110 of the Decahedron RPG Podcast. I don't know why I gave such a formal introduction there. So what I'm going to do this week is, it's kind of traditional at the beginning of a year to do the year ahead type thing. So I'm going to take a little time doing that. And then we're going to do some feedback. So let's do the year ahead. Overall, the year ahead, as far as I can see, is going to look a lot like the year we just left, at least the latter half of it. I like the shape that the show has taken, and I see no need to change it. Well, a couple little changes. The intro you heard at the beginning, with that wonderful music by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech. That's probably the last time you're going to hear that. I decided to update it. Something that's a little more unique. I like that tune. Well, Valerie hates it, but it doesn't matter. This one's my show. And I like that one. But, it's public domain music and anyone can use it. And by the way, Kevin MacLeod has a lot of public domain music, and he has graph paper and some amazing, awesome, graphing hexes and stuff. So I will link to his site in the show notes. Actually, I've linked it in every episode, but it just said music by. So I'm going to link to his main site, and you're going to see his graph paper too. Anyway, I wanted just something more unique. AI does so much these days, and I found a website called suno.ai, and I played around with some things, and it, I fed it the lyrics, but it wrote, generated, and sang this theme song I came up with. I can't compose music, but the AI did it, and so I'm about to play it, and remember, there's no humans involved other than I wrote the lyrics. Even the singing voice is a computer. There was no person singing. Anyway, this was it.
The Decahedron Podcast, hosted by Joe Cravenbow, shares his thoughts and has a blast, talking of games new and old.
I was impressed by that, but there's some legal questions about using their thing as my jingle. It says, if it's not for commercial purposes, you can do it for free. And, I don't make any money off this podcast. So would that qualify? Yeah, probably. Well, I don't know why risk it. So I actually went and hired a person to write a new theme. Again, I wrote the lyrics, but she performed the music and sang it. New music, new vocals. I have an opening and closing theme, but I'm going to wait till next week to unveil those. And at the end of this episode today, after my normal outro, I am going to play the full piece of Kevin MacLeod's music that I've been using. It's called The Britons. Yeah, like I said, I'm going to let the whole thing play after the show. Other than that, the only other thing I see changing for the new year is I have planned for this year to air 3 actual plays, which is funny because I say I hate actual plays. But, a lot of other people like them. And Dustin, he's done feedback before. He specifically said, you're playing Tunnels and Trolls and you're going to be playing Traveler. I talked about both of those. And he said, I would be interested in hearing how those play, to hear how they're different, from each other and from other games that he may have played. I was like, that's not a bad idea. So I talked to all the players involved, both games, the Tunnels and Trolls game and the Traveler game, and they've all agreed to be recorded and to let me air it. Unlike other actual plays, this isn't going to be the full 3-hour session or whatever. I'm going to ruthlessly edit it down, much along the lines of The Delvers, which was an excellent actual play podcast I used to listen to, which is sadly can't be found anymore. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. And the third game is, just a couple episodes ago, I did I presented Shirts and Skirts, which was my own Star Trek type game. And I already have an adventure in mind. And if I can find some players, I'm not looking for them yet. I have to run those other 2 games first. When I'm ready, I will put out a call. I thought it would be neat to run a quick little Star Trek adventure using the shirts and skirts rules and put that on the air. But yeah, like I said, other than that, it's business as usual. Enough with the year ahead. Let's look back and listen to some feedback.
Mail call from the United States of America.
Hey, this is Jason. Just listened to episode 105. I actually had to pause before Merc the Meek's message because I need to do something, so I'll finish listening to the episode, probably have more comments later. But I just want to let you know that, lately I've kind of moved away from the idea of meta currency and be able to tell the GM, no, I don't want that to happen. And here's something that lets them, change the narrative of the story. So I would definitely play Lucky 7 with you. Don't get me wrong, but that's kind of moved away from my preferred kind of game because I kind of feel it's too meta. It pulls you out of the game too much if the dice rolls don't matter because you can just change them. And I realize you're changing things before the dice happen, but still. Anyway, that's probably a conversation on its own, separate from this. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But I do appreciate what you're doing, and I look forward to listening to the rest of the episode when I get a chance. Take care of yourself, and I will talk to you soon. I am looking forward to the random versus character concept creation episode because, as you might guess, I fall on the random side. So, anyhow, take care. Talk to you soon.
Hey everyone, that was Jason of the Nerds RPG Variety Cast. Great podcast. You should give it a listen. Hey Jason, thanks for that. You're allowed to not like metacurrency and I'm allowed to like it because we're rational humans and we acknowledge that not everyone likes the same thing. Do you know that some people like Boston cream pie made with like a white whipped cream instead of made with a creme patisserie? I mean, what the heck is that? Anyway, yeah, I do like metacurrencies, and I have a couple comments. So you say that you feel that changing it pulls you out of the game, if you roll the dice and then change it. In my mind, for me, I don't think it pulls you away any more than rolling the dice themselves. I think stopping the storytelling to say, roll the dice, already breaks that flow. So if during that time when you roll the dice, you say, no, I'm going to expend my metacurrency to change that result, to me, I don't think it pulls you out any more than just the act of rolling the dice and, looking at them and trying to decide if it's a success or a failure. And then the second thing is you said, I'm doing it before and not after. You're half right and half wrong. I feel if you're going to charge a player metacurrency, it should count. I'm not going to charge them an XP, especially because that is my metacurrency, is experience points. So by spending it, you are slowing down your progression. So I'm not going to charge them that metacurrency without a tangible benefit, not just a chance of a benefit, but the actual benefit itself. So expending the currency will change a failure to a partial success, or it will change a partial success to a full success, which means if you wanted to, you could spend 2 to bump it up from a failure all the way to a full success. One of the ideas, by the way, I've been toying with is, should I have critical failures, seeing that I'm allowing you to buy your way out of that, and then, you could spend 1 to move it from a critical failure to a normal failure. Something I've not decided on and something I'm thinking about. On the other hand, for when you're getting an experience point, I'm not going to have you roll the dice and get a success and say, yeah, okay, I'll take an experience point to move that down to a failure. Because I guess it would move it down to a partial. I don't think a lot of people would do that. And so that one I do ahead of time. I give you the experience point for the chance that it's going to hurt your roll. That time, it's just going to add a penalty die. That's where my thought is on that right now. Nothing set in stone yet. If anyone has any thoughts one way or the other, chime in. Let me know. I would love to hear what other people think. As for the other episode, looking forward to point buy versus random generation. That has already aired. I hope you did enjoy it. I know that you sent some feedback. Don't know if we'll get to it today. And, it's okay to fall into the random camp. And I think one of the things I said on there is like D&D, I feel should be random. It doesn't feel like it would be D&D if it wasn't random. Same thing with Gamma World. But other games like GURPS, BESM, Fudge, Fate, even Rhesus, you wouldn't go to Rhesus and say, roll up your random cliches, would you? I don't know. I wouldn't. And I don't think it would be Rhesus if you did. But that's me. Thanks very much for the call. I think the next one's by you, too.
Hey, Jason here. So, back on the road, finished out episode 105. And, yeah, I apologize if I came across a little bit negative in my earlier calls. That really wasn't my intent. It's maybe more of a discussion, a game philosophy discussion, not a good-bad discussion. As far as medical technology and the idea of people having heart surgery and going in the next day, yeah, that happened with my mom, a couple of years ago, and it definitely happens. It's, the other huge change is the change from not only people being released that day or the next day, but also the idea, actually my mom was released the same day, come to think of it. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is that the difference between being in bed and getting up and walking right away is also a huge change in the last, decade, 15 years, maybe 20 years, where now, they get patients up and walking right away where it used to be, lay in bed. So definitely some things have changed. Some of them, no doubt, because of insurance companies, and some of them actually for the good of the patients. So, we're maybe moving forward a little bit, hopefully. Fingers crossed. But I will talk to you soon. Take care.
Hey, Jason, thank you for that call. Actually, I guess that's even a follow-up to your other call. So first of all, I did not take anything you said as negative. I just took it as you like that. I like this. That there's nothing wrong with that. One thing I struggle with is getting across the message that whenever I say anything on the show, if I say, this is bad, I don't mean it's objectively bad. I mean it's bad for my tastes. In fact, when I say that, I might not even mean that it's always bad for my tastes. I mean for right now, in the specific context, it's bad for my taste. But, if you say that every single time, the show would never be anything other than a disclaimer, right? I think we should all assume that whenever anyone says anything, all they're doing is stating their opinion, and people are entitled to their opinion, even if it differs from my opinion. And I'm entitled to mine, even if it differs from yours, right? And I know you know that. I know that. So don't worry about it. We all know it. And I will always just assume that you meant it that way, unless you specifically say, hey, Joe, you're an idiot for thinking that. In which case, I would be hurt, and I would also wonder if you had a stroke or something, because that's totally not the Jason I have come to know and love. So yeah, so don't worry about it. Don't sweat it. As for the off-topic stuff about medical technology, like when your mom had it done, it was even an outpatient procedure, right? She went home, and you said like the big difference is like they get up and walk right away, where before you used to stay in bed. The big difference is that surgeries these days, because of the advances in technology, can be done laparoscopically. So even like putting in a stent, they can go in through a vein in the arm or the leg and just follow their way up the vein and put in the stents. Whereas in the olden days, the days of our youth, they used to have to cut open somebody's chest and, whip out the rib spreaders and actually work on the heart. And so then you have stitches on the heart itself, you have stitches on the intercostals, and you have the big wound itself. And of course, your ribs have to mend back together. So you couldn't get out of bed. Well, you could, but it would be a bad idea. Yeah, it's not so much the insurance companies as it is advances in medical technology. Although once you make those advances, the insurance company wants them because it can be overall cheaper for the patient. As for the specific case, sadly, she hasn't been doing that well. So after her heart surgery, she went home, and it was just a few days later, she was rushed back to the hospital with some atrial fibrillation issues, and she spent a few days there more in the hospital again. They adjusted some of her meds and stuff, sent her home, and then a few days later, no, actually it was like a week later, she was rushed to the hospital again and only got out a couple days before Christmas. And then just like a week and a half later, a couple days after New Year's, she was rushed to the hospital again. As I'm recording this, that is where she is right now. So things aren't going great there. Well wishes, thoughts, prayers, whatever it is that you do, listeners, I would appreciate them. Thank you very much. And thank you in general for that call, Jason.
Jason again, alibi call for episode 105. The thief, the magical thief. Yeah, I'm not super enthusiastic about it. You're right. I think you could have a regular magic user do all that. And I'm not sold on the idea of everybody having thieving skills. Because are we going to let everybody turn undead as a first level cleric? Right? I don't know. That's a discussion I still have to be convinced on. I see where you're going, and honestly, I personally have an issue with the fact that a first level fighter has the same to hit certain armor class as the other classes. I think that first level fighter should be one better than the rest. And actually, in some games like Swords and Wizard or whatnot, they start with that basic hit bonus of +1, where others don't. Maybe, I don't know. I haven't looked Sword and Wizard for a long time, but you know what I'm saying. But yeah, I think the fighter should start off a little better, being able to hit things. But I think the fighter also has other things, so they should have other things. Yeah. Although that's one of the weaknesses of the fighter, they don't have a whole lot of things, right? Anyhow, I will talk to you later on. Take care. And yeah, stay warm.
Hey, Jason, thanks for that call. First of all, you said an alibi call. I got to admit, I am unsure what that term means. What is an alibi call? I don't know. So, yeah, if you can enlighten me, I'd very much appreciate that. You said, should first level magic users be able to turn undead? And I would say that turning undead comes from like those old like Hammer horror films, right? Where any person picks up a crucifix and puts it in front of the vampire and they are repelled by it. It's not just clerics that can do that in all those films. So really, I would have no problem with any character being able to turn undead at low levels. As for fighters starting with the same fighting as everyone else, yeah, actually, I agree. I think fighters not only should progress faster, I think they should start with a better fighting ability than other classes. And then the other thing you said was, again, about Magical Thief, how you're not a fan, that you don't see why it couldn't be a normal magic user. And again, the other part of the equation that I never explained particularly well at first was that it's a whole different system of spell casting. It is not advancing magic that they have, and that was unique to that class to sort of represent the chaos of the class, right? Not only are they chaotic in action, not necessarily chaos alignment, although, I mean, you're making your living stealing from other people. But I was picturing those rapscallion type characters, you know, the Face Man from A-Team or Newkirk from Hogan's Heroes, you know, that type of rapscallion, I believe is the word I used. You know, they're kind of chaotic characters. Again, chaotic in action, right? They're not very disciplined. The Remington Steel types, you know, that type. That's the other half of the equation. That's why it's its own class. Oh, and on top of that, I also never mentioned that their armor and weapons mimic the thief as opposed to the actual magic user, which again, I felt made them different. Thanks for your call.
Joe. Listen to your last podcast, which was talking about advantages and disadvantages and Lucky 7. Or really unlucky 13. But yeah, I thought it was interesting, you know. A bit of meta currency there. Well, not exactly meta currency, but XP, you want to do this or that. Okay. And you definitely make the disadvantage somebody would want to make sure that disadvantage was made in such a way that they could use it on a somewhat regular basis, so then they could build up the XP to then turn around and use their advantage. So, yeah, I can definitely see that. Sounds like it'd take a lot of refining for players to play that a couple times and then get an idea of what it would be like. But it's an interesting idea nonetheless in there. And appreciate you sharing that. And there was something else along with the other podcasts out there that you did, and I don't remember what it was at this time, but if I remember it, I will call in. Thanks a lot.
Hey, Evil Jeff, thanks for that call. By the way, everyone, Evil Jeff is the host of the Minions and Musings podcast, another great podcast that you should listen to. Links are in the show notes. As for Lucky 7 and Lucky 13, I don't know if I said at the time, Lucky 7 is meant to be a standalone kind of new school, doing air quotes there, a new school game, whereas Unlucky 13 was intended to be an add-on to old school games, specifically to like BX or Mentor Basic. I'm pausing because I'm like, would it work for BX? Because it relies on the +1, +2, +3, -1, -2, -3 range of attribute modifiers. So anyway, it was meant to be an add-on for that, just to bring in some new school elements like skills and stuff that I like. But anyway, this isn't about that. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. The key is, if you want to be a Munchkin in Lucky 7 or Unlucky 13, is when you pick a disadvantage, pick one that can be used almost any time. Like the most Munchkin-y one could just be, oh, he's unlucky. Because you could invoke that almost any time, right? In fact, if you've ever read Rhesus, and I don't know if it's, I know you have because we reviewed it together, but I don't know if it's in the basic book or if it's in the Rhesus Companion, but they say that the trick to coming up with a cliche is to try to have at least one cliche that is inappropriate under almost any circumstance. I don't think that intentionally crept into my mind when I was designing Unlucky 13 and Lucky 7. I think it is an unintended side effect that just happens to match that one. But hey, sir, thank you very much for your call, and I'm glad that your podcast is back up and running. And again, folks, you should really give that a listen. All right, let's see what's next.
Hey, Joe, Jason here. Just want to let you know that I, too, love eggnog, so you're not the only one. I just want to let you know that.
Hey, Jason, thank you for that. Yes, I am an eggnog lover. I bought my little quart for Thanksgiving, finished that one off, and I bought another one for Christmas, and that one finished. I do find that I am starting to add my own nutmeg into the eggnog, just to give it a little more of that nutmeggy taste. So, yeah. And I'm going to do this one because it's kind of ironic, and let me play it.
This is Dark Fluid. I'm changing my guess for Shirts and Skirts to be the game based on the cutthroat, competitive, romance-filled world of mid-20th century Hollywood costume design.
Hey, Dark Fluid. So that call came in while Daniel and I were recording the prize episode. But it doesn't make a difference that we missed it because you ended up winning anyway. Although it was Riley who actually got the right guess. Riley was, I forgot to mention it during the show too. Riley was the only person that guessed correctly that it was Star Trek. So Riley, big pat on the back. But sadly, that didn't make you win because again, winning was determined randomly. So sorry about that, Riley. But Dark Fluid, you did win even though you tried to change your guess. Actually, changing your guess was perfectly allowed, but that change just came in too late. But thanks for the call and thanks for the update. Looking at the time, I've been recording for almost a half hour. I'm getting back to try and get these shows shorter. So I'm gonna do one more feedback. I do have others. I will get to them, I promise you. But for this show, just one more. This one is from Daniel from the Bandits Keep.
Hey, Joe. Daniel Fans keep calling it about advantage, disadvantage. or your episode on that. I think it's a pretty cool system. I like it. I like that, at least how you described it, or my understanding is that you don't re-roll when you have the advantage. You don't even have to decide ahead of time, right? Those are two ways I've seen it done. That is to say, you can use some kind of meta currency to re-roll, or if it's like 5e, you're supposed to use it before you roll. That is, you get an extra die or whatever. Seems like the disadvantage is before you roll, but I don't know how else you would do that. Again, unless you're going to pull the rug out of somebody's, who's out from underneath somebody, which it seems like you're saying you would never do that. I don't know if that's going to be written into the rules or you're just saying you would never do that. But yeah, I like it. I like that it's more of a general aspect. I like a narrative description of skills, although this isn't technically a skill. I don't know if you're going to do a full-blown skill system, but that's what you're describing there is kind of how I use skills. Like I have them be a descriptor. I guess it's, and then that's it. It's like they can tell me what it is when the time comes. I was a sailor, so I know how to do sailor things is always the example, right? Or I was a pirate, so, I can walk with a peg leg and have a parrot on my shoulder. Stuff like that, with the bonus die or whatever, however you want to do it. So yeah, I like it. I think it's a pretty cool system. I think it seems clean and simple. And yeah, I think I like that it's like, oh, I'm going to just mitigate the roll, or I guess improve the roll. You didn't say so, but I'm assuming if you had a regular success and you wanted a success with with a bonus, then you could probably use it for that as well. Maybe if they really needed something special. So that works. Again, I know what you're saying about and I'm assuming it also seemed like you were talking tongue in cheek, the whole supreme ruler thing. I mean, yeah, I've had this conversation with KR actually on Monsters and Treasure. I don't know if we recorded, where when I was talking about how I do things, which is kind of what you're describing here, he was like, well, I could just be somebody that does this, this, this. And I was just like, well, then you just wouldn't be at my table, because I think we all have to deal with that as it is. And I think if you're playing with somebody who's going to take one advantage as being, a demigod, that probably, isn't in the spirit of the rules. And I think that's pretty easy to deal with, hopefully. Anyways, that was a total side trip, and I'm going too long, so it's probably going to cut me off anyways. So I'll talk to you soon.
Hey, Daniel. By the way, everyone, Daniel is the host of the Bandits Keep podcast, another great podcast. Links are in the show notes. Yeah, Daniel, you nailed down the head. I already addressed most of those issues in Jason's call, but yep, it is applied after the roll for the advantage, before the roll for the disadvantage. As for the crit thing, in my original notes, when I originally developed Unlucky 13, I said you could roll a fumble. You could never naturally roll a critical success. The only way to get a critical success was to expend a bonus, and the only way to get out of a critical failure was to expend the XP type thing. I haven't nailed those down for sure yet. And like I said earlier, I would love feedback. Yeah, the Supreme Being thing, I don't know what's so much tongue-in-cheek. It was an extreme example and showing how even that extremism wouldn't break it. But just like Evil Jeff pointed out, the real trick is coming up with an advantage or a disadvantage, preferably both, that can be used in almost any situation. Yeah, but it's funny that you say you like it. Jason said that he wasn't a big fan of metacurrency. And again, it's just that thing that I always say. We are all people, and different people like different things. And even the same people like different things on different days. And that's fine. We should embrace this. We all have more than enough common ground that lets us play together and have fun. So that kumbaya moment, let's just all hold hands, stand in a circle, and sing our way out of the episode. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. I very much appreciate it. Please do send feedback at decahedron.com. Call the feedback line. All that information is in the show notes. It's in the outro music that you're about to hear for the very last time. And after that, I'm going to play the entire song without any interruptions, without any voiceovers. And then next week, we will hear the new theme. But until that time, my friends, thank you for listening. And happy gaming, happy life. Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Decahedron RPG Cast. We'd love to hear from you. You can leave us a voice message by calling 562-774-2278. That's 562-RPG-CAST, or by visiting sayhi.chat/decahedron. You can also email us at feedback@decahedron.com. Links are in the show notes. For more information, visit decahedron.com. Remember that Decahedron is spelled with a K. Music is by Kevin MacLeod. Logos by Design Cat. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, keep those dice rolling.